Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts, in the shadow of the Great Blue Hills. We are so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Podchaser, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Heather Lean. She's here to celebrate Angel Grandma. Before Heather joins us, we want to let you know we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. It's The Field Day by Terrence Shipman, Dr. Terrence Shipman. This is the latest edition in Dr. Shipman's Kindergarten Chronicles series. And we love this book. We think that this is the perfect book for this uncertain time. We love The Field Day, the ultimate sporting event books for kids. As with all of the books in the Kindergarten Chronicles series, The Field Day is a book that kids and families will love reading together. In this beautifully illustrated story, we meet Benicia, a kindergarten student preparing for her very first field day. This fun story is sure to store pleasant memories for parents and older kids. I think it's an especially timely read, as children everywhere are being denied this beloved tradition due to the nationwide school closings. Reading The Field Day together as a family will be a great way to talk about some of the emotions kids might be feeling at this time, as well as a wonderful way to talk about all the fun we will have celebrating field days in the future. Bravo to Terrence Shipman and his illustrator, Milan Ristic. We love The Field Day. It's our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Joining us on the line right now from beautiful Long Island in the state of New York, she is the author of a beautiful book called Angel Grandma. Please welcome to the show, Heather Lean. Heather, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm really happy to have you on the show. I'm really excited. Heather was telling me we are hopefully we're at least in the middle, hopefully closer to the end of the quarantine of 2020. And Heather was telling me that she has two beautiful kids, 2 and 4 years old. And that must be quite the experience here, being in quarantine with our kids for such a long time. It's been, a month now?
I've honestly lost track. I'm not even quite sure what day it is anymore, but I think it's Monday. But yes, I believe it's been a month. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about Angel Grandma.
So yeah, the book, Angel Grandma is written. It's about my mom and, my mother-in-law. I lost both of them in the past, in less than 2 years. I lost both of them. My mother-in-law, I was pregnant with my youngest son at the time, and she had passed away suddenly, so that was unexpected. And then within a year, my mom had passed away from early onset Alzheimer's. She was battling it for 9 years, and then it unfortunately just kept getting worse and worse. And so my daughter was, I think, 3 at the time, and my son was probably 1.5. And, I'm an attorney full time. I took some time off to go see my mom. She was in Florida. And when I got back, after the funeral and whatnot, we sat Shiva. I went right back to work afterwards, and I was suffering a lot. I had a lot of grief. I had a lot of pity. Both my children lost both their grandmas, and I had that experience growing up, just, so close to my grandparents. They came to all my functions. They were always involved in my life. And it was just such a loss for them, for me and for them, because I felt bad for them for what they were they gonna miss out on. And, I was dealing with that for a long time, probably 3 months of just depression and grief, pity, thinking to myself, I would send my mom was sick for a long time, so she had lost, her memory and a lot of functions in that sense. But my mother-in-law, I would send videos of my daughter, like, doing the funniest things. And she's like, oh, I just would watch that all night. I'm cracking up. She makes me laugh. She makes me smile. And it's like, you know, you miss that. I can send pictures to my friends and, you know, maybe to my dad, but like a grandma, like they're like, send me every picture you have of the kids. Just send them to me. Like you know, and I was missing that so much. I felt such a loss. And, you know, people would tell you I'm like, how do I move on from here? How do I get past this? You know? And they would just say, you keep their memory alive. You talk about them. You show them pictures. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, and I guess in my head, I wanted to write this for a long time. The journey about writing books didn't start until a little bit after that. But, there's one beautiful poem. A rabbi read it at my grandfather's funeral, and I read it. Mom's funeral was very small. It was just, you know, just her 3 kids and her husband. And it was, I read it at the eulogy. It reminded me of the book that I kind of wanted to write in my head. And, it was, I think I'm say if it's incorrectly or not, but, you know, do not, stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I'm gentle glints on snow. And, you know, it was just so beautiful because, you know, in that moment you realize like they're not there. They're everywhere. And, you know, that poem really touched me. But, you know, to fast forward to how I began to write a children's book, Angel Grandma wasn't the first one. I had it in me, I believe, but I never really thought about writing books. So, kind of in the midst of all the grief and, you know, I think it was about 3 months of like deep despair really, and breaking down, you know, I was in my office and crying and not really dealing with it, correctly. I just didn't have the time. Like you said, I have 2 small kids, so I went back to work right away. And, I had given to a children's charity in the midst of that. So I saw them on social media. I saw, young kids without, you know, orphans, without any parents. And I'm like, how can they be so happy? How can, you know, they have so little in comparison? This was an orphanage in Africa. And, I was just like, let me just give them some money. And I really didn't think anything of it. And the next day I got this beautiful video from them, and it just brought me to tears. I'm a very emotional person. But I think anybody would be emotional seeing that. And it was just them saying, we love you. May God bless you. And it's like, I gave them a small donation. It wasn't like, you know, insignificant amount of money, but you know, for them, it was a lot. And, I was like, wow, I just felt something in my heart that I've never felt before. You know, I was trying to like buy things, and I was trying to fill this hole, like this deep, you know, loss. And people do different things. Some people drink, some people, you know, resort to like old bad habits. I was just like buying some stuff here and there. And of course it didn't bring me any joy, but seeing that, I was like, wow, I gotta find a way to give more, you know, do something. And I had gotten the idea. I drive a lot. I drive to court. So I drive, probably sometimes like 3-4 hours a day. And it's just a great time to think and reflect. I'm of course watching the road and whatnot, but, an idea popped in my head, and it was like, oh, if I write a children's book, maybe about gratitude and about the exchange between these kids. You know, my daughter saw the video and she's like, let's give them more. Let's give them, you know, send them presents. And to this day, I still interact with them and donate. And, I was like, maybe I can write a children's book about this, and I can donate a portion of the proceeds to them and to charities. And, that would make me feel so great, because it really, I mean, you know, you buy one thing, you get that excitement, that thrill, it comes, and that thrill's over, you know, but the compassion, the gratitude, the love that, you know, when you help somebody else, there's nothing like that. And so I thought of the idea. I wrote, you know, a cute children's book. It's rhyming. It's the true story, the background. And, I kind of fished it around because I had no idea. I had no background in writing books or anything. And, you know, to someone who knew somebody at a publishing house, and they're like, you need to get an agent, you need to, you know, do this. And I'm like, all right, I don't have time for this. And honestly, if I can't get it to take off, then how am I going to what's the point? I'm not going to get any money for, you know, charity. So I kind of put that on the back burner. And then I had really great friends and mentors come into my life really after all this. And they're like, you know, this makes you happy, right? And it's like, yeah, like, well, you should do it. And I thought originally I only had that one book in me. That was where the idea came from to even write a book. It was just about giving back. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it just like expanded. I don't even know how, to be quite honest, but I wrote, you know, 2 books after that. And then Angel Grandma was like the 4th book that I wrote. I knew in my heart I wanted to write something for my children to kind of express that relationship with their grandma, because we talk about, you know, this Angel Grandma. I want them to know about them, even though they will have very little memory of them. And so when I sat down to write it, I wrote it, you know, because I think when you have it in your head, you have it in your heart. Once you finally put pen to paper, it just spilled out. And it was like in one night I wrote it. And I wanted to go with this book first because I was very tied to the message. I didn't want, you know, I'm proud of the other books as well, but I didn't want anything to stop me. And there is sometimes some roadblocks and some, you know, hiccups along the way. And I knew being so like emotionally connected to this message and this book being about my mom, my mother-in-law, I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So, you know, just even the financial aspects of publishing a book and all of that, you know, you can get really, you know, like, frozen in that sense. You're like, oh, I don't want to spend any money. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But this was like, no, I'm going to get this book out, and it's going to be done before the, anniversary of my mom's passing. She passed away 4/4, and her birthday was 4/5. So I was like, it's going to be out before that. And it was done. It was done in a few months, actually. So it was super fast. But that's why I went with it first, because I was really motivated to get it out.
It's amazing how folks that are so important to us and meant so much to us can motivate us and push us even after they're gone physically from the world.
Right. Yeah. I really feel, you know, not getting all, you know, all crazy and spiritual and whatnot, but I really feel that she's guiding me, because I don't think I would have ever found this path. And, you know, you can't, like, one of my favorite quotes is, Steve Jobs, is like, you can't connect the dots, like looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And maybe this is like, was leading me to something I always had inside me, but I would never have discovered had I not dealt with this grief, with this loss. And, you know, I don't have control over what happens, but I just know, you know, even just seeing, like, not to sound all crazy, but like little synchronicities, like lining up, it makes me feel that I'm really on the right path. Like she's guiding me to that. I found, it was really funny. Like they used to have these, I guess these autograph books or something at the end of, the school year. Everyone would sign I don't know if that's what they were called, like all your little classmates would sign your little book. And I found hers, and this is from when she was probably in like 6th grade or something.
Wow.
And someone wrote in it, you know, keep writing. One day I'll read your novel or something. One day I'll get a autograph copy of your book. And I'm like, my mom wrote, like, I would never have thought that. And I didn't know anything about that, you know, about her. And I'm like, maybe it was for me to find that. Maybe it was like her. You know, so, you know, you can interpret things however you want, but, you know, I think the other thing is I heard a great speech about, you know, at the end of your life, when you see all these talents and opportunities that were given to you, and they're like lined up around your deathbed, and like you could have chosen to do something with these, but you decided instead not to take that leap and not to pursue that out of fear, out of whatever. And it was so moving to me, because I did see people, you know, have their lives cut short. And I'm just wondering, did they have you know, seeing that autograph book, even my mom, did she have this dream? Did she have something that she didn't fulfill? And, you know, life is too short to sit there and question it and say, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't know anything about this. Just, it really made me it solidified that in me, like, take that leap, you know, just do something about it. And, like I said, I had no background in writing. I had no background in children's books, but I felt this push to pursue this. And, it's just been such a cathartic, beautiful thing for me, because I can, I'm healing in the process, and I can help other people through that as well. So there's just nothing greater. I mean, I don't know, I haven't bought clothes or shopped for months. I'm not missing it, but that used to be, when I was feeling like that void or whatever, that would be my kind of thing. Like, oh, buy a few pairs of shoes, like buy a handbag, and I don't even need that anymore. This has filled like a huge gap in me. And, it's a beautiful thing that I'm pretty certain I would not have found if not for suffering at first with the grief and finding another outlet. So, yeah, I mean,
well, I think that's so very important. It's a great lesson for you to be able to share with your kids as they get older. Just that whole idea of, you took this horrible moment in your life when you were filled with pain, and you were able to put that pain, that emotion into a positive direction. And you didn't go in the opposite direction. You didn't let it destroy you. Instead, you took that pain. You grew from it. And
right.
That's such an important person for everybody, that important lesson for everybody to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy. It's just so easy to fall in a hole. I mean, I've been connected through my life just from people who lost, their mother too. My sister-in-law lost her mom. My husband, obviously, my cousin lost her mom. One of my, good friends, soon to be family, I think she lost her mom young. I'm connected with all these women, with all these people that have lost their moms, and and they're not children, but I had given them a copy of the book, and they're like, wow, like kind of moved to tears. And it's not a sad book. It's just, it's reiterating what I have felt to be true, is that they're always with us. And, I can't see angels, I can't see my mom, but, I can feel her presence. And I think, whatever background you really are from, like religious, spiritual, that they kind of teach that love is endless, Mm-hmm. And that just changes forms, but it never goes away. There's a beautiful quote, and I think maybe I'm getting it wrong, by Rumi. And, he said, those who love with their eyes, experience loss, but those of us who love with our heart and soul, we know there's no separation. And, I think that's just so beautiful, because, what you see is only just so much, it's just one sense, what you can see with your eyes when they're no longer physically here. But what you can feel with your heart, when you can feel with your soul, we all kind of know there's something more to this. And, this is really just my path. It's just, it's been a beautiful, it's given me a lot of peace and a lot of comfort. And like I said, I really wasn't brought up religious, at all. I think my dad is now, but, so I was searching a lot when, my mom passed. I was searching for things. I read probably a million books on, like Deepak Chopra and, Eckhart Tolle, and, and I was searching for that. And a lot of it just says, like, the collective fear, the anxiety, the worry, it's just like mindless, like chatter in your head. And when you clear all that out, you get back to what, we truly are, is just love. And, that's the one thing that can't die, with death. Like everything else can go, all the possessions and whatnot, but that's the one thing that lives on. So, that's really what the story is about. And yeah, it's been an incredible process. My daughter is old enough to see everything going on, and, she kind of, understands, and we talk about it. And, it's always, she's strong. She's 4 years old, but she's just a very strong, little girl. And, she's even inspired just by, you don't realize what you're doing, but your kids are watching. And she's like, Mommy, I have a story, write this down. And she told me this morning, she's like, Mommy, I'm going to be an author just like you. And, I don't even think of myself like that. I'm just writing from my heart, and it's been a great journey, but like, just to inspire even my own daughter has been a wonderful blessing in all this too.
That is really, really wonderful. And this is a book, you mentioned your daughter. This is a time when we're all dealing with loss.
Right.
You know, we're here, and we mentioned the quarantine earlier. When we come out of this, and we will come out of this, life's not going to be the same.
Right.
There are going to be people who were in our lives that aren't there anymore, whether it's because they passed or whether it's because of the changes in society. They're no, you know, our friends at dance class aren't there because dance class isn't there. And when we go back to school in the fall, the classes are going to be different, and the kids are going to be older, and the best friend that you had last year may not be your friend this year. And so those are all really difficult losses, and it's wonderful that Angel Grandma is a book that families can read together and then talk about to help kids process some of that loss.
Right. Yeah. I think it's, you know, they say there's different, and I'm not a medical professional, so like I'm just talking from what I understand, but I think, you know, some children are very good about talking about things. You know, you can read in the book, like my daughter is just a little chatterbox, and, you know, she'll bring things up, and she's like, oh, you know, mommy, like, listen to this, or, you know, this, you know, Angel Grandma, and she'll bring it up. And then some kids are very quiet. And I think, you know, there's different ways to maybe cope with that. You know, just reading the book starts kind of like a conversation. And for kids who maybe don't want to talk about the loss, you know, everyone copes with things in different ways. I remember I don't remember what grade it was in, but we were asked to write, or draw a picture book, like draw some pictures, and we made it into a book. And I remember, it might have been like third grade or whatnot. And I wrote, a book. My parents went through a divorce when I was much younger, and I drew pictures of, you know, them arguing or whatever on the steps. And that sparked a whole thing. Like you know, the teacher saw it, and then it went to like, you know, I went to go see like a school counselor after that. So like kids are, you know, there's different outlets for them, and a very therapeutic one is to maybe, you know, draw pictures and kind of express that way if they're not vocal, if they're not, you know, into talking about the topic. So I think that's, you know, a really good route. Maybe draw a picture of someone that you love. Like my daughter will draw pictures of Angel Grandma, and she's like, this is her with us. And it's just so beautiful because it's another form of expression that kids maybe who are not so vocal can utilize in that. And, you know, you're right. We're all suffering in some way. Like I'm blessed to have my kids. I mean, some days I'm blessed to have them home. Some days I'm just like, oh my God, I've used every single Pinterest, you know, activity I can think of right now. But, I know some people are just grieving because they're home alone by themselves, and they don't have anyone. They don't have their children. They don't have a spouse. And, you know, I consider myself blessed that I do, and I have them here with me. So there's that grief. So it's everyone's going through a difficult time on, you know, a different level. But I think, you know, to express that in some way, like a friend, you know, for a kid to draw a picture or to talk about it, you know, there's nothing to be gained from, keeping it inside and like, and kind of suppressing that. I mean, I know that because I willingly kind of, you know, got into solitude and turned inward to get past my grief from my mom, but that was prior to all this, and people are being forced to do that now. So it's just a very difficult time in that sense. You know, I would just say to people who are suffering, you know, find somebody to talk to, find somebody to communicate. For little children to communicate in the ways that they know how to, because, you know, we're not alone in this. We're separate, we're apart, but everyone's very much, I think, connected in this time to helping to helping others. And I think that's the, you know, that's a great message behind all this. Even though we're not physically present with each other, everyone's willing to kind of help somebody. And there's been such a positive message on social media. I'm here for you. If you need something, call me. If you need food, I'm here for you. Like, and I think that's really what this is all about. I mean, this collective love, like we're all in this and we're all here for each other.
Yes, I agree. And we are all connected. And that's, you know, hopefully when we come out of this, we're going to be connected in a stronger way. And those relationships we have with our friends and with our family are even stronger than they were before. Hey, speaking of connected, how can people connect with you? Where can people connect with you online?
So I'm on Facebook at Heather Lean Author, as well as Instagram and at Heather Lean Author, and then Twitter, I think it's Author Lean. And my website is just www.heatherlean.com.
We've had a great time talking this morning with the author of Angel Grandma, Heather Lean. Heather, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Rick Morrison. He is going to be telling us all about The Hug Store, a great children's book and also a great movement. So check it out. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you on the podcast being a guest. It's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. We want to thank the people who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Heather Lean. Be sure to check out Angel Grandma. Also want to thank my incredible team, starting with my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. I also want to thank my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. But most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for making the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.